What if the winter solstice isn't just about the longest night, but an actual portal into your infinite potential? As drones light up the skies and technologies like Willow quantum computing emerge, we're reminded of the most advanced system of all, you. This is a crossroads that we're in this week, pre winter solstice. And the question is, will you give your power away to fear and external systems? Or will you activate your inner sovereignty, your inner divinity, step into the void and rise into this rebirth? Let's explore this pivotal crossroads that we're all in with this week's astrology update and also understanding the significance of the winter solstice. To finish off with this week's ancestral tarot guidance, a message of abundance, but only if we're brave enough to face the shadows. Satnam and welcome to this week's astrology and ancestral tarot guidance for the Sovereign Sisterhood Movement. I am Jyotira Kaur, otherwise known as Veronica Barragan, Kundalini yoga therapist, student of Forever Life Astrology, and also dedicated to helping women break all generational cycles of trauma. Welcome to this week's astrology update, where the focus is going to be primarily on the winter solstice. And although the winter solstice is not necessarily an astrological event, what I am going to do is share with you the astrology, the transits that are occurring as we celebrate this winter solstice on December 21st, why it's so important, why we find ourselves as humanity in a very pivotal crossroads, and what this all has to do with the quantum computer of Willow that was just recently released from Google, as well as these drones and plasmoids that we're seeing in the skies. You see, before we get into the astrology of the winter solstice and how to prepare, because that's going to be very, very important, I want to share with you what this has to do with this very major advancement that just occurred in technology. This winter solstice is about us stepping out of the void and into the rebirth of the Christ light within us. We know that we celebrate the birthday of Jesus Christ, which is his real name is Joshua. Many people argue that he actually was not even born in December, on December 25th. But the Bible likes to tell you not to study astrology, even though everything in the Bible is based astrologically. So the winter solstice, the light being born within, always happens around Christmas time, because it really represents the light of the Christ being born in you. Remember, our brother Jesus Christ said, "You will do bigger things than I have ever done." And that's not the exact word, but that similar to that were said in the Bible, right? What does that mean? That what I do, what I represent of the Christ consciousness, the ability to be on a cross and say, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." You can do that too. And in fact, that's why you incarnated into these bodies. And a big part of this requires generational healing, which we're going to tie it all in together here. But you are more powerful than any quantum computer, any quantum system, because you are a divine co-creator of the universe itself. Without you, there would not be a universe. God is expressing herself through you. This is the big rebirth that through the inner work, especially as a Kundalini yoga therapist, as a Kundalini yoga practitioner, every year I'm able not only to embody it more, but to understand it and to really, really apply it in my life. And all of this, the winter solstice that we're all moving through, what's happening in the world is a big distraction, fear mongering, to really keep you far from the truth of what is happening within each and every one of us. The second coming of Christ, meaning Christ is not going to descend from heaven, which heaven is here in the now. Heaven is not somewhere you go to. But Christ is not going to come from the skies to save our butts. Christ is saying, our brother Jesus Christ said, you all have the last name Christ, and you all can allow the Christ to be born within you. And think about where we're moving into this great technological advancement, but also apocalypse, because we're all going through an apocalypse right now. This apocalypse is the great flood, but instead of water being the one that inundates and overwhelms, it's our emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. Emotions are directly connected to water. So we're being overwhelmed by emotions, which is causing people to transition, to not be able to thrive or to be able to sustain the pressure of the Christ or this age of Aquarius. which really is represented by the Christ consciousness. And through these releases, before we talk about the winter solstice, I want to share with you what this whole thing of the quantum computer Willow being released last week by Google and why this is all connected. Last week, Google announced that they released this quantum computer, quantum processing system, quantum chip, call it what you will, which basically has the ability to not follow the rules of time. So what this quantum computer does is that it uses something known as qubits. And what this computer does is that basically, unlike traditional computers that process information as binary bits, Willow is a quantum computer that uses qubits. These are quantum bits to process data. So it doesn't work in the realms of linear time. There is no time involved in the way this information is processed, which is why a lot of the Google research also says that we live in a multi-dimensional universe and that there are parallel universes where this qubits computer is actually pulling information from. So the insanity of this new processing computer is that what it used to take 10.7 trillion years to come up as a solution for a problem, now it only took this quantum machine 5 minutes to understand. And I think it's more than trillion. It's something like 10.7 quadrillion, which is the actual age of the universe. And now this quantum computer using qubits is basically giving us solutions and answers to something that it would take an older computer longer than the life of the universe. Now it's doing it faster than even the universe has been around. And qubits are revolutionary because they can exist in multiple states simultaneously. Like I said, they don't follow time. And when you think about the principles of quantum mechanics, like superposition and entanglement, you really can understand qubits because this allows quantum computers to solve really hard problems at speed unimaginable for any classical system. So Willow became this advanced quantum computer, which represents also humanity's growing ability to tap into the mysteries of the quantum reality, essentially mirroring the infinite potential within each and every one of us. And that's why it's so important that you understand that this quantum computer is not smarter than you and that you can also become this advanced technology. And I'm going towards that with the winter solstice teachings and understanding why generational healing is so important. So Willow challenges us to question whether we view external systems as more powerful than our own inner potential. Think about it. Quantum computing is, to me, the same thing as Kundalini yoga because it operates beyond the linear binary thinking. And what it does is it moves us from duality, Kundalini yoga, because you're inserting mantras through chant, meditating to change the brain. Your brain is a quantum processing system, which actually has been proven by many scientists, although they don't want this information to get out. One of the most powerful scientists who actually went missing in the 1990s was a very famous Mexican neuroscientist, Jacobo Greenberg. And he was like the Einstein of consciousness. And he was getting ready to prove, because he studied a lot of indigenous teachers, one specific very famous indigenous healer in Mexico, Pachita, I believe that was her name. Though I don't want to mess up her name. But in essence, she was able to heal people. Like she could do surgery on you, psychic surgery, and replenish your organs and quantum healing. And he started doing a lot of tests where he realized that the brains of this entire world are all connected, that we actually harmonize within each other. And now there's even other evidence on this. Like there's a new podcast episode that I keep talking about inside of my community. All these things I'm sharing with you, we dive really deep into them inside my community, Satori Vitality and Spirituality and the Sovereign Sisterhood Academy. So I'm giving you an overview. And if you have more questions, just post them in the comments. Join us in our free Facebook group, the Sovereign Sisterhood Movement. That's completely free. The Sovereign Sisterhood Academy is not open for enrollment right now. Satori is, which I'll link below in case you wanted to start to get yourself more involved in what I'm talking about, because it's directly correlated with energy. And that is what Kundalini yoga is. It's the science of energy. So Jacobo Greenberg basically had these theories that brains can communicate with each other even from the other side of the world. And when he was getting ready to prove this, he had created this test where he was going to test this on people in India and Mexico. He disappeared. Because of course, this doesn't benefit the entire world, especially those that have had control. It really does feel and look like, and the truth is that this entire world is run by warlocks, spiritual warfare, that have for a long time kept humanity in slavery, trying to keep us out of harmony with each other. It's just like they do the same things that they do in the jails. In the jails, they separate you by race so that they can have better control. In society, that they're doing the same thing. They're making you have certain beliefs that put you in a box, like the ones that take the vaccine and the ones that don't take the vaccine, the ones that believe in God and then the ones that don't believe in God. And even within that, they divide people and they keep them separated. They're always doing war against like race, creating these narratives in the news so that people of one race can hate people of the other race. Why? Because separate, you're easy to control. Together, we cannot control you. It's like the movie Ants, or A Bug's Life, excuse me. It's called A Bug's Life, but it's those ants. Remember the grasshoppers were basically all controlling the ant society. And then when the ants decided that they were going to all get together, they toppled down the grasshoppers because they realized that together, even though they were really small, they could literally overthrow anything that was basically not for their own good. And that's what ended up happening. So these quantum systems are a reflection of what you already can do with your brain. That's where Kundalini yoga comes into a big way. And this is why Tesla, he was a futurist. He created electricity and then it got taken away from him. And a lot of people called him a neuroscientist, or not a neuroscientist, a pseudoscientist, which means like a fake scientist that can't prove things. When the fact is that not only was he proving them, he literally was creating them, and he was just very advanced for his time. And his direct quote was, either you're born with this knowledge and you remember it, or you have to practice Kundalini yoga. Those are exact quotes, because Kundalini yoga is the science of energy, so that you learn how to channel and control energy. Because ultimately what they did with this Willow computer is the same thing that our ancestors did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Remember, they've been excavating the Mayan temples, the Hindu temples, all the temples in the world. And they've been pulling from their technology that they're like, wait a second, I thought our ancestors, because they were from a long time ago, that they were basically dumber than us. And now they realize that our ancestors had not only ability to, through their meditation practices, to become that advanced quantum machine that could astral project and exist in multi dimensions, just the way Jesus Christ, just the way God, omnipresent, right? So they realized that they did that, but they also created technology. How do you think that the temples like the Chichen Itza, beautiful sacred temple in the outskirts of Cancun, Quintana Roo, Mexico, right in that Yucatan Peninsula area, how was that created? How were the Egyptian pyramids created? Well, basically, they understood energy. And they created a technology that could harness this energy, which is basically known as plasma. And plasma is what we're also seeing in the skies right now. You're seeing the drones. You're seeing these little, they look like little holographic figures, right? They look like almost like orbs. What that is that is plasma energy. And plasma energy operates the exact same way as these qubits do in the quantum computer. There is no time. They don't operate in before, past, and future. Basically, they are computing. There's this divine feminine Adi Shakti energy that is wild. Everything exists in that field. But what Jacobo Greenberg also published and he proved was that you and I, through our brain and our nervous system, we are always connecting with that unified field. That's what plasma is. And we're creating our reality. But we here in this world are still following the Newtonian ways of physics, even though quantum physics explains things way better. Although people have such horrible cognitive dissonance that they don't want to see the truth. And that's the whole thing about this advanced technology, that they figured that out. But guess what? Now there's drones in the sky and now there's these plasmoids. Why are they there? Well, the thing about the technology where they finally learned how to harness plasma, which is the entire universe, which is where creation happens. You're creating your reality with an inhale and an exhale. So now my theory is that they are using this to instill fear mongering. There's, of course, this conspiracy theory, which is not a conspiracy theory, that now even the Daily Mail is talking about, which is this blue beam, or what is it called? Blue beam project, which basically is all about the government, the CIA, call it what you will, creating this false illusion because they've harnessed plasma energy. They learn how to do it like the ancestors to make it seem like we're under attack from intergalactic family members. So my theory is that these drones that are up there absolutely belong to the same entities that created Willow, that created this quantum machine. And two things happened. Either through that creation, the plasmoids are appearing all over the world and will continue to appear, which, by the way, plasmoids have been appearing throughout the world for centuries. It's just that now they're more obvious. Why? Because our consciousness has changed. This is the second coming of Christ. A lot of people are spiritually awakening. Why are they spiritually awakening? Because of the position to the sun from the earth. This happens all the time. Mars used to be a vibrant planet filled with life, water. But then as it started to move from a different position to the earth, it dried up and died. Same thing with Mother Earth. The way we are positioned in this year, this is why astrology is so accurate. This is why our ancestors knew what was coming in 2025, even from hundreds and thousands of years ago, is because they understood that the position of the earth was going to change. And this is astrology. And because the position of the earth has changed to the sun and in relation to the universe, that changes your consciousness and mind. And that's what the second coming of Christ is. So either they're doing this to create a lot of fear mongering, and they're also creating these plasmoids so that then they could lie to us and say, these drones are trying to save you from these things, these plasmoids, and these plasmoids are dangerous. And so you're going to have to rely on us in order to be saved. That's what I believe is truly happening. Or they could have also, when they did this Willow, released it, they basically now have open portals where we are seeing the multiverse universe, and that's why these plasmoids are happening. But in either case, there's nothing you should be afraid about because you are the plasma. That's the whole thing. We are in this major crossroads, as it is the winter solstice, and I'm going to explain it as the rebirth of the resurrection of the Christ within us. But as it is, we're in this crossroads, but we're also in a very ethical crossroads as it relates to humanity, because this is the same fight that happened between the Palladians and the Atlantean civilization, where the Atlantean civilization believed that using outside technologies was the most important thing to move civilization forward, or the Palladians, which were a harmonious race that lived in harmony with Mother Earth and with each other, said, no, the most advanced technology is inside of us. What are you doing? And they couldn't agree. And there was destruction. There was major tools and weapons of mass destruction that were created. And there was a great apocalypse that happened with the Great Flood, which then the Palladians went to their own places in the world that survived. And we're now in that same situation where you have these people like Elon Musk who really believe that we should put our brains in a chip and let AI control the game, where you can do the same thing with Kundalini yoga, because Kundalini yoga is the science of energy. And there's two things in order for you to basically become this quantum computer. What that really equates to is becoming the Christ consciousness. So what does that mean as a human being? That means the same thing as what Kabbalah teaches, moving from 0 to 1. What does that mean? That any grievances, abuse that you've been through, any place where you have not forgiven, that you learn to see God even in that you go from 0 to 1 singularity. A lot of people are talking about this. What does that mean? That going from the illusion that you're separate from God to I'm always connected to God. Love, forgiveness. That is what our brother Jesus Christ came to teach, the Christ consciousness. That is the Gnostic teachings that were basically got the Roman Empire got rid of, right as Jesus Christ was also walking this earth, because they didn't want you to become powerful. A person that holds a lot of generational trauma and grievances and lives under a lot of hate, fear, all this other stuff, they believe that they're separate from God. That does not give you access to the quantum field. But when you are somebody that realizes that forgiveness is the pathway to salvation, which is what our brother Jesus Christ taught us, and what I learned through A Course in Miracles, and you release these grievances by also practicing the yoga, Kundalini yoga. Basically, you can talk to a therapist for thousands of years and never get over what's going on, or you can practice the yoga, which regulates the nervous system, rewires the brain so that these memories can fall off because the body keeps score. And when these memories fall off of you believing you're separate from God because of the trauma that you went through, and guess what happens? You reach the 144,000 chosen ones. And that's not a person that gets chosen, it's a frequency. 144,000, when you do the math, equates to all the chakra centers actually working in functionality and harmony. And we cannot do that if we still believe we're separate from God and that we are not created in the image of God. If we carry guilt, if we carry shame, if we continue to pass on these generational patterns of trauma because we don't do the work of forgiveness. When we've applied these teachings and follow the path of the Christ, you become the fastest quantum computer. Nothing can hurt you. It's like the Matrix. Remember when he finally escaped from the Matrix? No bullets could get him. Neo, no, nothing could hurt him. He was telepathic, just like our brother Jesus Christ. He could heal just the way Pachita, the indigenous healer. Why? Because they were in the Christ consciousness, a frequency that you can all reach through the tools that were given to us. That's why A Course in Miracles for me became the pathway combined with Kundalini yoga to not just disrupt generational cycles of pattern, but so that I could crown myself, so that I could accept the atonement, which is why you incarnated in the first place, so that I could realize that I am the daughter of the highest God, and that I am powerful beyond means. Because if we let go of these Newtonian ways of believing the world is experienced, and we finally understand what quantum physics has been teaching us, then we can look at the spiritual aspects of what Jesus Christ taught us, what all the great masters taught us, and understand them and apply them to our own personal lives. So that's what this winter solstice is all about. The winter solstice is the moment of the in-between. And as a humanity, we're in that crossroads to recognize your own inner quantum computer, your mind, body, spirit complex that is capable of accessing infinite wisdom, the great oracles like our ancestors. That's why I was talking a lot about the witch's womb last week. Stop being afraid of your power, your intuition, and knowing that God is within you. That's where Kundalini yoga becomes a holistic tool to not just activate your energy centers, your chakra centers, but to connect to the universal energy field plasma and to generate your own plasma. You are the technology, you're the holy grail in order to embody divine unity with God, to co-create and manifest anything, to heal instantaneously. And for me, also, A Course in Miracles spiritual psychotherapy became a guide because that's where I strengthened my relationship with my brother, Jesus Christ. I understood his true teachings. I was able to transcend fear, to forgive, and to step into the Christ-like potential as a co-creator with divine intelligence. So we have to look at these drones, these plasmoids, and these fear narratives as in the sky, symbolizing attempts to control the collective consciousness through fear, and that absolutely these are man-made phenomena designed to keep humanity in a reactive state. But they also remind you, and this is if we can integrate this before the winter solstice, that the plasma mirrors your energy potential. And just as plasmoids are dynamic and creative, so too is your Kundalini energy. And that fear is a choice, even if it doesn't feel that way. You can choose to see these events as opportunities to remember your inner power rather than the sources of anxiety. You are the advanced technology. And the William quantum computer is basically a marvel of human ingenuity, but it doesn't even compare to the quantum potential within you. So the true crossroads is, are you going to give your power away to external systems? Or are you going to reclaim your divine technology using tools like Kundalini Yoga and A Course in Miracles? That's what this winter solstice is all about. It's about stepping out of the void into the rebirth of your Christ light. You are more powerful than any quantum system because you are divine co-creator of the universe itself. And when we think about the winter solstice, now I'm going to get into the astrology around it. Think about it. The winter solstice was always celebrated by our ancestors. Why? Because of the position from the earth to the sun. During this day, you can do, from a Kundalini Yoga therapy perspective, this is a day of major psych surgery, of going into the subconscious mind, rewiring it, of major nervous system regulation, of brain rewiring, right? What are the things that are prohibiting you from accessing this plasmic field from within you, from co-creating the life that you truly deserve and desire? And when we think about the winter solstice, that's the reason why our ancestors did ritual, meditation. These were very important portals and they should be very important to you. That's why they try to get women away from the rituals, calling it witchcraft or calling it something evil. When we as women especially intuitively know that on the full moons, on the new moons, on the equinoxes and the solstice, that this is a time of celebration, of ceremony, of offering to the ancestors, to the gods, whoever you believe in, right? You understand that this world is run by warlocks. They use magic and witchcraft for dark purposes. Those freak offs that guy Diddy was doing, those were rituals to harness energy. This is a spiritual warfare that we're all going through. But guess what? Nothing to be afraid of because you can also practice those rituals. Imagine if you use that magic to advance humanity, to heal yourself, to heal your lineage, to heal the world, to co-create amazing experiences for human beings to remember who they are. And that's going to be a big question as we move forward in the age of Aquarius, the ethical use of quantum computing. Are we harnessing this immense power for collective upliftment or to control humanity again? And this winter solstice, when you are conscious and you are actually making your entire life a ritual, and that's what we do in our communities, come together as women, we practice Kundalini Yoga meditation together so that we can use these portals to stop repeating the patterns. And that's so obvious right now because we're in this void of the light of the Christ being born in all of us. And we just had this really powerful full moon in Gemini, where also Mercury went direct on the very same day. And this was a culmination point of clarity, of dualities, of looking at the light and the shadow and looking at the truth. And hopefully you did not shoot the messenger. So now as we celebrated this full moon in Gemini, we're in this void of this time of stillness where our mental clutter is just basically observing the stories and the patterns that we carry. Gemini and Mercury ruled Gemini, going direct with the full moon has illuminated where we've been distracted by external noise and is now encouraging us to release these distractions, to find clarity, to find truth. Releasing what is false makes room for the emergence of authentic truths. So honoring this process clears the path for all spiritual rebirth as we integrate light into our being. And during this full moon, remember that also Mars is retrograde in Leo, especially during this winter solstice. And this has challenged our ego-driven actions. This is a time of introspection on power, on creativity, on our passions and our desires. Who are you really? Mars, the planet of action and drive, is moving backwards in Leo for right now. Remember, you can go check out my last podcast or video here on YouTube, where I talked about how it moves into Cancer at the beginning of January, which is going to change the flavor. But right now in Leo, a sign associated with personal power, with creativity in the heart, we're all asking really big questions. We're all doing a lot of self-awareness work where we're confronting where we've allowed the ego, pride, control, fear, vulnerability to overshadow our ability to act from love and higher truth. And this could be very uncomfortable because people that haven't done the inner shadow work and the inner work of stabilizing their nervous system, they get stuck in the shame. They don't know how to go beyond the shame. So they either bypass or they run away. And then it doesn't become very easy for them to do work of self-awareness. So during this time where the full moon happened, right, where Mars was retrograde in Leo, we were reassessing our motives, our desires. We're healing old wounds around power. We're letting go of aggression, resistance that blocks our ability to receive the Christ light fully. This is a crucial integration opportunity where Leo connects us to the heart. The retrograde becomes this period to soften, to reflect, to align with our heart's wisdom, which serves as the seat of the divine light within each and every one of us. And then we have now the winter solstice that's happening on December 21st. And that's the portal of your rebirth. And the thing about that is we look at the astrology, because again, the winter solstice is not an astrological event. It's a natural event, one that's connected to Mother Earth and her natural rhythmic cycles. But on December 21st, when the winter solstice occurs, we also welcome Capricorn season. Happy birthday to all my Capricorns, fellow Capricorn right here. I see you. I know what privilege and honor it is to be a Capricorn, but I also know the level of responsibility that it comes with too. So now we're inviting the Capricorn energy on the winter solstice. This is the energy of alignment, of understanding, of spiritual rebirth. The winter solstice marks the longest night of the entire year and the rebirth of the light within us. This is a metaphor for the void we are in before the spiritual awakening. And Capricorn's energy, thank God, grounds this experience into a reality, the goat, offering stability, discipline as we prepare for this transformation. Because what this void represents is the period in the womb, a sacred pause where we actually integrate all of the lessons of the year, a time for stillness, reflection, a deep trust as we await the rebirth of the Christ light within each and every one of us. And the sun's return symbolizes the light of the divine consciousness on this day. This birth is not external. It's the awakening of our own divine essence, the Christ consciousness, connecting us to love, unity, and purpose. And alignment of the sun with the earth during this time just creates an energetic window for profound healing so that we can activate our energy centers, our chakras, clearing the pathways for the Christ light, facilitating what I just shared, the psychic surgery, where deep-seated emotional and energetic blockages can be released, preparing the mind, body, spirit for the higher frequencies of the divine light, the 144,000 frequency that I was talking about. So the sun and zero Capricorn in astrology represents our core essence, vitality, and purpose. It's the energy that we radiate and how we shine in the world. Capricorn being this earth sign ruled by Saturn, which Saturn is very active during the winter solstice, represents mastery, discipline, and building for the long term. So think of Capricorn as the wise mountain goat that climbs steadily towards its goals. Yeah, she's about aligned work, hard work, responsibility, and success over anything. We'll never quit. And at 0 degrees of Capricorn, marking this winter solstice, that's the moment that the sun shifts into Capricorn. And this degree is a very potent new beginning, representing a fresh start in mastering our lives, planning ahead, and grounding ourselves in reality. Now, what's really, really interesting about this is that the lunar and the lunar nodes, north and south, are very active during this winter solstice. And what I mean by that is that first, the lunar nodes are not planets; they're more like mathematical points where the moon's orbit intersects the Earth's orbit around the sun. So they represent our soul's evolutionary journey. The north node means the path forward, our destiny, where we're meant to grow in this lifetime. It's very important that you pull your own free astrological chart and you understand where your north node is and where your south node is. Because if you understand where your north node is, you understand why you feel uncomfortable when you're growing and you're able to soothe or ease into that. The south node represents our past, including habits, skills, patterns that feel familiar, but can hold us back if we cling to them. Those are the ones that we're born with too. So here's the thing about this winter solstice. As it's happening, The North Node is in Aries. That means future growth. And Aries is what? The warrior archetype, independence, courage, taking bold, authentic action, asking us to step into our spiritual sovereignty, to stand up for ourselves and lead with confidence. And the South Node is in Libra. And Libra represents harmony, relationships, but it also can have a shadow side of people pleasing and avoiding conflict. So the South Node here is asking us to release tendencies to compromise our truth just to keep the peace. And the whole thing about this, what this all means, is that we are going to be with Mars also being about passion and retrograde, we are going to be asking the biggest questions of our entire life. Why am I here? How can I move forward in my authentic truth? And how can I simply learn to be myself? And I'm especially talking to those that have been born with a lot of plasma energy within them. That's what psychic powers are. So many of you carry this witch's wound because of your ancestors being basically persecuted for their healing abilities. And what that really just means is a human being that was born with a lot of plasma. Tesla was a good example of that. He was just born with a lot of plasma already that he had access to. That's why he was a futuristic. Some of you are born with a lot of plasma. And the women in my community, a large part of them that come to the communities, they are born that way. They have incredible, beautiful powers. But for some of us, like for me, I wasn't necessarily born with that. I had to learn to develop those things through my practice of Kundalini yoga. So what this winter solstice that is positioned with Capricorn coming in and with the North and South nodes being so active, Aries and Libra, we are literally like tuning into our authentic truth, why we're here. And if you're not taking action on it and rebirthing, if you're too scared of your power and you're reverting back to fear, then what's going to happen? Then you're going to continue in the program and the patterns of the past. And then as humanity, think about it. If we then say to AI or to this quantum computer, Willow, that she's smarter than us, that will be our demise. If we as a human consciousness do not integrate the inner work to heal ourselves, then absolutely quantum computers are going to take over. Because the big thing about all of this is that this winter solstice is a reminder to reclaim your divine technology, to say yes to your power. And the true crossroads is, are you going to give it away, your power once again, or are you going to embody infinite creative potential? So if your answer yes, then it's time for you to do the shadow work. What is shadow work? Shadow work refers to the process of acknowledging, embracing, and integrating the unconscious parts of ourselves that we avoid or deny. These are the aspects of our personality, the beliefs, the emotions that we consider dark or undesirable that we don't want anyone to know about. Fear, anger, guilt, shame, all these past traumas. When we refuse to face these parts of ourselves, they influence our behavior and they create inner conflict, keeping us from fully accessing our full potential. You're not vibrating at the 144,000 frequency. And in relation to the winter solstice and reclaiming our divine technology, shadow work is essential because it invites us to confront the very aspects that prevent us from embodying the quantum potential within. It is the process of stepping into the void of stillness and introspection where we can observe our fears. That's what meditation is for. Where we can observe, not judge, not try to stop, watch. Why can we observe and watch them? Because our nervous system becomes more regulated through the practices of Kundalini yoga meditation and through A Course in Miracles spiritual psychotherapy. We can look at all these unresolved emotions, these limiting beliefs, and challenge them. This is the space where we can release what no longer serves us, making room for this rebirth, for clarity, for divine creativity. And think about it. When it comes to generational healing, what is generational healing? This is a process of healing inherited emotional, mental, and spiritual patterns from our ancestors. These are unspoken about many times, tucked under the rug. We don't talk about that in this family. Or maybe even unconscious traumas that are passed down through the family line, such as patterns of fear, control, guilt, shame, or lack of worthiness. These generational wounds manifest as emotional blocks, patterns that continue to shape our behavior, our perception, limiting our ability to connect to the unified field, to the plasma field, to our true power and creative potential. So as we approach the winter solstice, the idea of generational healing becomes especially relevant because that's the way we allow the Christ light to be born within us. It gives us an opportunity to release the ancestral fears and the limiting beliefs that have been passed down through generations. In this process, that's where we can access our own inner quantum technology by recognizing and healing the blocks that keep us from embodying our divine creative potential. So that's what this winter solstice is all about. It's about us understanding that this is a moment of stillness, of introspection, to confront the shadow aspects of our lineage. And we do this not by coming into meditation and asking all the shadows to come through. You just do your meditation every day so that the nervous system starts to change, so that the brain starts to become rewired. Don't worry, these shadows are going to come up. They're going to come up in your day to day. But this is nothing to be afraid of. This is something to be able to face. And the thing about Kundalini yoga meditation is that the more that you practice it, the more prana you have in your system. Prana is life force energy. The only reason people are stressed out, anxious, and depressed is because they don't have prana in their system because their emotions are eating up their energy. That's why there's a lot of fear mongering. But if you are sovereign and you have a daily practice of Kundalini yoga meditation, you practice A Course in Miracles, spiritual psychotherapy of the Christ consciousness, or remember who you are, your emotions are not getting eat up. Your emotions are not eating up your energy. You have enough prana and energy to go beyond the pattern, to respond instead of react. The winter solstice is offering us a powerful portal for personal and generational healing. And when we do the shadow work and we heal the wounds of our ancestors and ourselves, that's when we align ourselves with the infinite creative potential that lies within us. In that state of consciousness, there is no time. There's no time as it is. Time is an illusion. But you're able to break through those barriers. As you heal these generational patterns, you heal the collective consciousness, stepping into your true power, embracing the divine technology that already exists within you. And through this winter solstice, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Rituals, right? You can meditate. You can offer to your ancestors. You can embrace the stillness through just being quiet. You can connect to your heart throughout that day. You can offer forgiveness or ask God to assist you in seeing things differently. This week, we're going to do a live healing session inside of my free private Facebook community on forgiveness, generational healing and forgiveness. So if this is something that you're ready to do, step into this void with an open heart so that this winter solstice, you can actually rewrite your entire narrative, your programming, then go check us out at the Sovereign Sisterhood Movement Facebook group, private Facebook group. I'll link it below. This is for women who are ready to start to learn more about generational healing. So you can actually join us there. We're also releasing a podcast episode this week. My co-host Elvira and I, my sis Elvira and I, we recorded a podcast episode on forgiveness and our own personal experience and what that's all about. So that's going to get released on Tuesday. So look out for it. And this is the perfect thing for you to do, watch and listen to before the solstice. Because by the time the solstice comes, that's the day where you want to really, really pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, and emotions. Not try to stop them, but be more aware, more mindful, and more prepared for what really is happening. So amazing time to be alive. As you can see, with this winter solstice, a lot of things are happening around it. And I could probably go on and on with other things that are also occurring. But in a nutshell, what you really need to understand is that we are getting ready to go from this void to this metamorphosis. And that when we do the shadow work and we heal the wounds, we align ourselves with this infinite creative potential that lies within each and every one of us. And you know what? This week's Ancestral Tarot Guidance is everything I've been talking to you about. So if this is resonating, if this is making sense, if you know that there's someone out there that could really benefit from these teachings, please share this YouTube video with your community. Give it a like, hit that notification bell so that you are basically notified when I do share new podcast videos, which are twice a week now, Mondays and Tuesdays. So make sure you're staying tuned with that. So now let's go right into this week's Ancestral Tarot guidance, because I'm telling you that it is literally reflective of this energy that I'm talking to you all about. And what the ancestors are telling us is the same message, that we're at a very pivotal crossroads. And even though the past in the card readings reveal patterns of hesitation, self-doubt, and fear, your present accomplishments are actually affirming your capacity to rise above all of this through a life of abundance. The immediate future is going to urge you, though, to be able to sustain this new life of abundance, to look deeper at inherited shadows or limiting beliefs, the shadow work that I was talking to you about, in order to really liberate yourself fully. The ancestors this week are offering the strength to overcome these challenges, reminding us all that our destiny is not to repeat their struggles, but to honor their sacrifices by forging a new and empowered path. So let's look at the card readings for the week, and I do a quick summary of them. I do a lot deeper reading into this in our morning Monday sadhana inside of Satori Vitality and Spirituality and the Sovereign Sisterhood Academy. So if you're interested in these types of updates with a really thorough how to navigate, then you can join Satori, because the Sovereign Sisterhood Academy is not open for enrollment. But I will link Satori membership information below here as well. So in the immediate past, what do we got here? The first card that comes up is the Page of Wands reversed. And this is such a symbolic meaning of what we just came out of with Mercury being retrograde for the last month. But what this is saying that in the immediate past, there was maybe a period of a lot of stagnation where things were not moving, where you felt like there was delay after delay after delay, and you were struggling to ground your creative energy, or maybe even put your enthusiasm into action or purpose. There was a big fear of failure, a big fear of being seen. That which is one that I was talking to you about, where you were hesitating in a big way to explore opportunities because there was a lot of self-doubt, or you were afraid of external criticism. So you had to incubate. It's almost like the caterpillar that went into become a butterfly, right? It's in the cocoon. This is the stage where you've been at, and it has felt scary. It has felt uncertain. It has felt like there's no progress. Yet this is where the most was happening, because this is where you were being forced to face all these ancestral wounds of unrealized potential. So now that we're leaving this energy of the Page of Wands, thanks to the full moon, think about it. The full moon in Gemini with Mercury being direct, both helped us reveal these inner mental blocks, this hesitation that was coming from the fear of the past, whether literally your life or your ancestors' past. That's the reverse page scattered energy. I mean, from ancestral programming around communication, self-expression, or fear of failure. And with Mercury now being direct and Gemini full moon, we were shown where the confusion has delayed our progress. Mars retrograde, pushing us to pause and reflect instead of rushing into action. So these past cycles of hesitation or misaligned ambition have to be released in order to be able to truly step into this rebirth of the winter solstice with sovereignty. So that's your immediate past: stagnation, delays, confusion. Now, in the immediate present, the first card that comes up, or the card that came up, is the Nine of Pentacles, Nine of Coins, and it is upright. This is such a beautiful energy, because this is the card of self-sufficiency, of abundance, of luxury, of independence, financial stability. There's personal fulfillment here through earned hard work, inner work. You were changing your mindset. As scary as it was during the Mercury retrograde, you had to face all those limiting beliefs. And now in the present, guess what? You get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. This is a time of luxury, of recognition, of success. This is a time where you finally have tapped into your inner worth and you become very disciplined. There's a huge appreciation in personal growth and the ability to stand strong without any external validations. Boundaries and discernment are a big deal right now, where Protecting what has been built and valuing peace over chaos is your priority. So the ancestors are reminding us that in the present, we are honoring the legacy of self-reliance and of abundance, and that your hard work now reflects a break from these past scarcities or struggles. Astrologically, think about it. Mercury shifts direct. You find clarity and confidence in what you've built so far. Nine of Pentacles now mirroring also this Mars retrograde in Leo energy, because it's urging us to assess our success and ask whether it's aligned with our true purpose and creative integrity. That's how we're going to stay abundant. And think about the connection to the solstice. This present abundance you're enjoying is reflecting your ancestors, and your hard work and sacrifices. And really, sacrifices is not something you give away to get something, because God doesn't negotiate. Sacrifices means to make sacred. So the shadow work, those things that you consider to be so horrible and bad, you brought them to the light. And now, because you brought them to the light, through the winter solstice energy, we're being guided to honor this foundation while preparing to step into greater divine alignment. So this is a time in the present to express gratitude for your accomplishments. The peace and the independence that you're now enjoying signals a break from scarcity mindsets or dependency cycles that may have plagued your lineage. And this is really funny for me, because right now in the Sovereign Sisterhood Academy, we literally are on a 40-day prosperity journey to disrupt all and any generational cycles of scarcity. And that's what this energy feels like. Like, we've been doing so much inner work, changing our mindsets, changing our nervous systems, rewiring our brains, connecting to the plasma field, becoming plasma. And because of that, we're enjoying the fruits of our labor. The Nine of Pentacles. Now, how do we sustain this? Because it's not just about creating the abundance. You have millionaires, or you have who win the lotto, and it's something crazy like 9 out of 10 go back to zero, because it's not as important to get the money. Is like, how are you going to sustain it? When we have limiting beliefs of scarcity, and if your ancestors have never been extremely wealthy, like millionaires, billionaires, then literally your brain is protecting you. Your brain is like, that's the self-sabotage. That's the Page of Cups. That's the, no. No one in your family has ever been a billionaire or a millionaire. So let me protect you so that you don't get hurt. The brain doesn't know that that's what you truly want. The brain is a program. So we got to change the program, which is at the level of the nervous system. But how do we change that at a deeper level? Well, the ancestors are saying, in order for you to sustain this abundance, this hard work, you're going to have to face the shadows. What I was just talking about with the winter solstice. Because the card that we received was the Devil upright. And what is the Devil upright? Shadow work. Facing inner demons, unhealthy attachments, addictions, behaviors that are keeping you stuck. There's an over-reliance, maybe even on materialism, on a relationship, codependencies, or habits that become a source of false security or control. So this card is all about breaking generational chains, identifying these patterns of bondage without shame. I mean, it might come up for a little bit if you haven't done any of this inner work before. But for somebody who's already done the inner work, like in our community, we're talking about how we see the awareness, we take accountability, and we move forward. But shame can really block you from doing this work and getting stuck in these cycles of addiction, fear, or any other toxic cycles that are passed down through your lineage. So this is recognizing how choices contribute to feeling trapped. And this is about you reclaiming your autonomy. The card is a call from the ancestors to confront the ties that bind you to fear, unhealthy dynamics. You have the power to transcend and heal generational patterns. What this means astrologically, think about the winter solstice, the portal for releasing darkness, the return of the light. The Devil signals that before stepping into this rebirth of the Christ consciousness, you're going to have to face and free yourself from limiting beliefs, generational trauma, toxic dynamics. This is your opportunity to awaken higher self-awareness and divine love to sustain the abundance that you so deserve and have created. So the ancestors are calling us to heal any ancestral karma tied to power, control, or fear. And as the light returns in this winter solstice, the Devil reminds you that liberation requires honest self-reflection and self-awareness and willingness to step into a higher vibrational path. You don't have to know how. All you have to say, this is one of my most beautiful lines of A Course in Miracles that I love the most. I am willing to see things differently. When you say, I am willing to see things differently, you invite a higher power. You invite God from within to assist you in some of the things that become so difficult, like the path of forgiveness, especially from generational patterns of trauma. So overall, what we're really looking at this week is this incredible opportunity to reflect on where fear and ancestral wounds have blocked our ability to act boldly, to celebrate our progress towards self-sufficiency and abundance, embodying the strength and resilience they aspire to, breaking the cycles of scarcity because you remember that you are the most advanced quantum computer. And because of that, the path ahead is asking us to confront the shadow, whether it's unhealthy attachments, toxic dynamics, addictions, ancestral trauma. This is a chance to unshackle yourself from the cycles of fear or dependency. Your ancestors are reminding you that these chains don't diminish your success. It amplifies your power to create a freer future for yourself and those who came before and after you. Now, prepare for the winter solstice every year. I host, and as a Kundalini yoga therapist, I've hosted my annual winter solstice workshop. And in 2020, I actually hosted a 3-day summit, virtual summit, where I gathered the most amazing healers, holistic therapists, teachers, and it was a 3-day of women gathering together. This year, to be honest with you, I'm just completely slammed. I didn't have time to plan it, but I always host an annual workshop. And that annual workshop is hosted for my community because it is a time of community. It's a time of reflection. It's a time of integrating the inner work of Kundalini yoga meditation. And this is what you should be doing to prepare too. Now, typically, this event is exclusive for the Sovereign Sisterhood Academy members. And the focus of the workshop is on deep ancestral rebirthing and healing, Kundalini activation, and setting very powerful intentions for the upcoming year, calendar year, because it's not the real year. It becomes a time to embrace the energy of this rebirth, to release these old patterns, go into the subconscious mind with Kundalini yoga and change and do this psychic surgery so that we can connect with our highest potential as the co-creators of the universe that we are. So if you're not a member but would like to participate, you can comment below with sovereignty here in the comments to be added to the wait list or when we potentially open the doors to non-members. I'll be making that decision in a couple of days, just praying on it and meditating on it, because it is a very special event. And it's not necessarily that spaces are limited because we're virtual, but it's more of the fact that as a community, Satori, Vitality and Spirituality, and Sovereign Sister Academy, we become so beautifully in harmony that I just want to ensure that only those that are really interested and committed and devoted to this type of journey, they get the opportunity to join. So you can comment below sovereignty and I'll add you to the wait list. Or if you're already on my email list, which if you're not, I'll put the link here. I send out a weekly newsletter with all teachings on generational healing. You can join that too. And my wait list is the first one, my news or my email databases are the first ones to know anytime I open the doors to any events like this. But just make sure that you type in sovereignty below or that you also join my newsletter. That way you can find out if we do open the doors. Now, as a reminder, the Sovereign Sisterhood Academy is currently closed for enrollment, but you are always welcome to join our free Facebook group community, the Sovereign Sisterhood Movement. In this group, like I shared before, I share daily generational healing education and I offer a weekly life healing session to support your healing journey. And this is a space that is perfect for those that are looking to engage in ongoing personal and ancestral healing, but maybe they're brand new to the entire process. You'll understand a lot more of the teachings of Kundalini yoga therapy and A Course in Miracles through this group. So this is a time to just remember that the winter solstice is a time for you to tap into your divine technology, for you to step into your sovereign power. Remember that the more that we heal ourselves, the more that we heal our lineage and the collective consciousness. I look forward to sharing this sacred time with you. And thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for leaving your comments below. They all help the algorithm and they help us grow our movement of generational healing. So thank you for you. And I wish you an incredible, beautiful winter solstice. May the light of the Christ be reborn within each and every one of you. Sat Nam.